This is it. This is the iPhone XS Max. This is in the beautiful gold version. And holding this up next to my previous version of the iPhone X, you guys can see the size is so much bigger. And the color is, it's the most perfect gold color that I could have ever asked for. At the beginning, I was like, I really want a nice rose gold, and this is it. And I can't wait to go see the watch too. But you guys can see the size difference. Here it is. Wow. I mean, this display, so good. Just getting back to my hotel from the Apple event. If you guys watched it online, I'm sure you already know everything that was announced, but today I want to go through some of the highlights. Last year was the first event that they'd ever held at the Steve Jobs Theater when they launched the iPhone X, and this was the second year.
You're like the mother of YouTube.
Oh my goodness, well thank you, I appreciate it. Guys, he just called me the mother of YouTube. This is exciting. Little does he know, I'm probably the grandmother at this point. And it is such a beautiful theater. It really does embody everything that Apple represents. It's just so incredible to see in person. So as soon as I got there, I ran into a bunch of my YouTuber friends, so it's always great to see them at these events. These tech YouTubers are some of the hardest working people on this platform. The best part about this is Marquez brought his entire iMac. I thought you were joking!
I had to. So it takes a long time to render these videos, and what better way to speed that up than a little extra horsepower?
Anyway, let's go briefly through some of the highlights. They announced 3 new phones today. There's the iPhone XS, the iPhone XS Max, and the iPhone XR. The iPhone XR comes in 6 different colors, and I was really surprised at how vibrant these colors were. Some of the leaks and the rumors that we had seen, they were kind of like these dulled down colors, but when you see these in person, and if you can see here, here's some B-roll that I shot of them, and they are really, really beautiful. If I had to pick, I would probably go for the coral one. The XR isn't going to be available immediately. Those will be available later in October. But what's great is the starting price for these are $749. It'll come in a 64, 128, and 256 gig model. Now, why this phone is less expensive than the XS and the XS Max is because, first of all, the screen is LCD, not OLED like the XS and XS Max, and the band around it is aluminum instead of stainless steel. The XR also only has 1 camera as opposed to 2 like the XS and XS Max, but it still has the capability to give you portrait mode photos, front and back. So now, while the XR is pretty awesome, a great price point, but this XS and XS Max, wow. This phone looks so good, and the new gold color, it is the gold that I have always wanted. One of the things I feel like in the past, they've called their phones gold, they've called them rose gold, they've either been not gold enough or too pink, but this color, so it actually matched. This is a rose gold bracelet that I have, and this gold almost matches that gold perfectly. So the XS comes in 2 sizes. Like I said, there's the XS, the XS Max. The XS Max is a 6.5-inch OLED, and the S, just regular, no Max. I wish they would have called it Mini. Maybe there will be a XS Mini. It'll be even smaller. Sidetracked. XS. 5.8-inch OLED, HDR, Super Retina displays. These things look super crisp, but one of the things I thought was interesting, even just holding up the XR and the XS Max, the LCD display in the XR still looks really, really good. So this is going to make it really difficult for people to decide which phone do I want, because the XR still has so many capabilities that you're going to want, but yet that price point is just so good, because the XS and XS Max are a little bit more expensive. And by a little bit, I mean a lot, because if you want the 512 maxed out XS Max, maxed out, oh gosh. The 512 configuration is $1449. I just had to look at it just to make sure. That's a lot. Obviously, most people are probably not going to need the 512 gigs of storage. I make a lot of YouTube videos. I transfer so much footage onto my phone. I do a lot of editing. I do a lot of things on my phone, and I haven't even filled up this phone yet. Let's just double check and see how much storage I actually have left. I've only used 96 gigs of my 256 gigs used, which is kind of crazy because I do put a lot of stuff on my phone, so that's kind of shocking. So that leads me to believe that most people are not going to need a 512 gig model, because the 256 will run you at $1249 and the base model 64 is $1099. If you opt for just the XS, which is the smaller version, that starts at $999, the 256 is $1149, and the 512 is $1349. These come in 3 colors, the gold, the silver, and the space gray. So both the silver and the space gray look almost identical to the previous versions of the 10. But this gold, I just can't stress enough how beautiful it is. It is such a great color. I'm also extremely excited because the gold matches the new gold Apple Watch too. If you decide to do a nice matching combo, they finally match. Because this white, I mean, it sort of does, but this is like a mirrored finish, whereas this is kind of not as reflective, but these golds match perfectly. Much like the iPhone X, it also has dual cameras. Both of the back cameras are 12 megapixel, whereas the front is 7 megapixels, but you can now shoot 1080 60 frames a second on your front-facing camera, which is really, really cool. One of my favorite camera features is this adjustable aperture. So what that means is you can adjust the background blur after you take a photo. As you can see in this little demo, you can turn it up, turn it down. So depending upon your creative choice, you don't have to worry about if the photo is perfect when you took it. You can adjust things afterwards. It adds a new A12 Bionic chip, which means processes will be much, much faster. They say that you can open apps 30% faster than the 2017 iPhones. I love this photo that they kept using for the demos. We saw this so many times throughout this entire event. Normally, most of the photos that you take like this, like something is not gonna be right. Either the background is gonna be completely blown out because it's super bright, or you're gonna completely lose your subject because it's gonna be way too contrasted. I'm just wondering how many takes did it take them to get this shot? Either way, it's incredible and I cannot wait to get my hands on this thing to be able to really test out the photos. They also showed some really fun video demos, and the bike one specifically that they showed in the event, I got to see it on the actual phone. That video was shot on the iPhone, and it also records stereo. So as the bikes were kind of like cruising past, the stereo on the iPhone actually picked that up. They also announced dual SIM support. This is going to be kind of interesting for people that travel, especially if you travel a lot internationally. They're going to have an eSIM and then a regular SIM card. So I'm not 100% sure how that is all going to work, but that is something that I think if you do travel a lot, it's going to be something that you're definitely going to want. It's now water resistant up to 2 meters and for 30 minutes. So that now gives it an IP68 water resistant rating. They also mentioned that it has been tested against other types of liquids, not just clean water, but like salt water. They mentioned beer, and I think they might have said coffee. I'm not sure, but I know I've definitely tested out my iPhone X in coffee, and you know what? It's fine. It's still here. This is the only phone that I have never shattered. Out of all of the phones that I've ever owned, this iPhone X has made it. And it actually looks really good, although I have a very small little chip. Just got this 2 days ago when we were flying drones. I had set the controller down and it just kind of just took a little slip and it hit a rock. But it's so small, but I can't believe that that is the only small piece of damage that I have done to this phone. So considering this is the only iPhone that I've never shattered, this is really great news because the new iPhone is even more durable. They said that the glass on the front and the back is more resistant than the previous version. I still can't stop thinking about how excited I am to try out some of the new video features because all of the video that they shot and showed in the demo looked incredible. They showed a bunch of slides about how the Smart HDR works. Because of the faster processor, they're able to take more photos in such a short amount of time, so they're able to pull out the highlights, the lowlights, the shadows, everything that you would want in a photo and kind of merge it all into one, and then magically a beautiful, perfect photo appears. And I'll tell you what, there's so many times that my sister and I will go out to shoot some photos or video and we have expensive lenses and cameras, and half the time I'm like, just take the picture on your phone. Just take it on the phone. It ends up just looking better and it's instant. We haven't even talked about the Apple Watch yet. Series 4 was announced today, and I'll tell you what, I am so excited for watchOS 5. I have yet to try the beta, but one of the things that I'm most excited about, other than the walkie-talkie feature, is that you can now track yoga and hiking. And those are pretty much two of my favorite fitness activities, and I've never actually been able to accurately track those before, but now we can. I never realized before that the edges of this Apple Watch are square. I mean, obviously I realized it, but I didn't realize how prominent it was until holding it next to the new Apple Watch. They now have increased the screen size. They have rounded edges that go so much closer to the watch face.
So the new sizes are 44 and 40 millimeters, and you guys can see that the size difference is pretty significant, and it doesn't feel much heavier than the previous version. So here is my ceramic 38 millimeter, and up next to here, it looks so good. Then next to this one, 44 millimeter. Yeah, so if you have small wrists, I definitely wouldn't recommend getting the bigger version because it is, well, actually it looks incredible, but I think that the smaller one might fit better. And I'm also left-handed, that's why I put my watch on the other hand. Here you go. 40 millimeter, a perfect fit.
So they said the overall surface space of the Apple Watch is smaller, but yet the size is a little taller, a little bit wider, but it's thinner. And it's also great news because you can still use all of the previous versions of Apple Watch bands, so you won't have to upgrade, unless you're like me, who went from the 42mm to the 38, and then you gotta get all new watch bands. They also have some new Apple Watch faces. They have water, fire, they have liquid metal. They also have some new breathing sequences, so if you are a fan of the breathing app, they have watch faces now to match. They also have these really advanced complications too, so if you want to add more data, which it's super overwhelming when you first look at it. But I feel like this is probably the watch face that I would want to set up if I wanted to have all of the information that I could ever possibly need. It's there. It now has haptic feedback in the digital crown, so if you're scrolling through photos or whatever it is that you're scrolling through, it'll be giving you the appropriate haptic feedback as you turn the dial. Another highlight for me on the new Apple Watch is the new heart rate monitoring features. Before they would tell you if your heart rate was too high, but they also have something now that will tell you if your heart rate is too low. It'll also look for irregular heart rhythms, so if there is some sort of thing going on that you can't really see, your Apple Watch will see it before you will even know about it. The digital crown will also be able to give you an ECG reading, so using the ECG app, you just place your finger right here on the crown and you hold it for 30 seconds. This will be one of the first times that an ECG device will be available to consumers just over the counter. Usually I feel like that's something that doctors will have to prescribe to you, or it's super expensive. It'll then take that data, send it to your phone, you can then email it, send it to your doctors, text message it to your friends, whatever it is that you want to do with it, you will have that information. Another feature that ended up just being the most craziest memes all over Twitter, but this is fall detection. So the Apple Watch will now be able to detect if you've had a fall, and if you don't report back and say that you're okay within a minute and your watch is completely still, it'll then contact your emergency contacts and it'll call for help. So I think that's something that's really important, and yeah, I know a lot of people are making jokes about it, but I think for elderly people, even for me who knows I'm always hiking and doing crazy things, and I find myself in situations where, yeah, it could be potentially dangerous. And I just feel like this watch has already saved so many people's lives, alerting them of when they potentially are having a heart attack, that this is just something else that is seemingly a very small thing, but I feel like after this is implemented and people start wearing this and using it and actually having to unfortunately put it to the test, I think that it will save lives or at least prevent some serious injuries. So that's something that I'm excited to test out. I'm actually a really good fake faller. Is that a talent, a skill? Definitely is, because I used to trip and fall in high school all the time and I would get in so much trouble. I didn't get in trouble at first, but then they realized that I was doing it over and over again and not hurting myself, and it just turned into a whole joke. That's a whole nother story. I'm really good at falling, although I'm a lot older now, so I probably will hurt myself. Or at least I'll know if I have an injury. I can tell my watch, yes, I need help. They also moved the speaker and the microphone to opposite sides on the Apple Watch. So the microphone is now placed by the digital crown and the speaker is on the opposite side, and the speakers are now 50% louder. Another highlight, which is not really that big of a highlight, but for me it is, the HomePod will now finally get an update and you'll be able to add multiple timers. I know. I'm shook. Well guys, that is just a few highlights here from the Apple event. I had such a great time and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sure a bunch of my friends will also have amazing Apple content out very, very soon. As you guys know, it's Apple season, it's gaming season. There's gonna be so much fun stuff coming out and I look forward to checking it out with you. If you guys haven't already subscribed to my channel, make sure you do so by hitting subscribe and be sure to hit the bell. It looks like this. Then you'll be notified when I post new videos. You can also follow me everywhere else on social as iJustine, and definitely leave me some comments because I really love hearing from you guys. And I love hearing what you actually think of the events. Which phones are you gonna get? Which color is your favorite? Which Apple Watch do you like? Which phone do you have currently? Are you not an Apple fan? Do you have an Android? All of these questions you can answer below. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
We're now inside the Steve Jobs Theater. It is such a beautiful theater. It's so crazy because no one can really figure out, how is this thing standing?
Hi Justine.
Hello,
how are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Finally.
Do you want to say hi to the vlog?
Hey, what is up, iJustine fans? Lots of love from Dubai.